Hi everyone, welcome back to Lifting the Lamp, and welcome back to my video series on the practice of Raja Yoga. Now previously I've been talking about yama and niyama, the moral practices, and you can find a link to that content in the description below. And so yama and niyama are the first two limbs of Raja Yoga, and they are about creating a moral foundation, creating favourable conditions in terms of how we relate to ourselves and others that will give us space and create space to then cultivate a meditation practice. And we're not quite at the meditation phase yet. In fact, we're still quite a way away in Raja Yoga. We've built the moral foundation, but now on top of that, it's necessary to build another layer of foundation, which is a physical foundation for future practice. And that is the goal of the third limb of Raja Yoga, asana, the physical postures. Now, if you've encountered hatha yoga before, then what asana is very, very similar, if not the same. It is yoga that is practiced by adopting a series of different bodily postures and then holding those postures. And then each of those postures will have a different effect on the body, a different part of the body. And so there are a number of different postures that we can adopt. And we go through the postures, and it is very similar to a regimen of physical exercise. That's hatha yoga, that's asana. Asana is very similar. But the biggest distinction between hatha yoga and the practice of asana is the goal. Hatha yoga is very much focused on the physical, and the discipline remains within those physical postures, and it's about creating well-being and balance physically. And that is where the focus tends to stay for the practice, is on repeated physical exercise. In the case of Raja Yoga, the practice of the physical postures is only a means to an end. We establish balance and harmony and relaxation and peace physically in order to be able to seek a deeper inner peace. We create a body that is strong and stable, a physical body that is strong and stable, so that we can hold a posture and we can be still and steady for protracted periods of time in meditation. It is all about preparing the vessel in asana. We're preparing the physical vessel to receive the benefits of meditation. Now, I'm not going to give a detailed account of how to practice asana, how to adopt different postures, what sort of postures to adopt. I'm going to give an overview, but if you do want to get very serious about asana or just have any level of practice of physical yoga, I do recommend going to see somebody who is a qualified yoga instructor and getting them to take you through a routine and getting them to determine what a good series of practices would be for your own body. Because if this is something that you do yourself, you try and do yourself, it can result in physical injury. So just, that's a disclaimer. I highly recommend that you go to an expert if you want to know how to manipulate your body using the asanas. But if you're just going to stay in the lotus position or the corpse pose, there's not too much that can go wrong there. But nevertheless, you should always be careful and just pay attention to what your body is saying. And while, as with physical exercise, some exertion is to be expected, you don't want to push yourself to the point of spraining a muscle or dislocating a joint. Just be responsible. So there are many and varied postures to choose from. There are many and varied asanas to choose from in Raja Yoga. And you can very easily find them online or in yoga books. And each posture has a different effect in terms of the kinds of muscles that it'll activate. There's the parts of your body that it'll activate, or the muscles that it will relieve tension from, or the parts of your body that might be disjointed that it can realign. And so when you're trying to think of what a good yoga routine is in terms of the asanas you practice, you should be thinking about which practices are going to bring relief and bring benefits to the whole of your body. Take a holistic approach, but also think about those parts of your body where you carry the most tension, where you need the most work to unravel the tension that you hold in that part of your body. And again, a yoga instructor is much more qualified to tell you that than I am. And then the other thing to remember when practicing asana is the reason why we adopt certain postures. It is not that this or that asana has a special mystical quality where if you hold this pose, it'll invite certain energies into your life and have a certain magical outcome. I think that's not quite the right view to take when you're taking a view of the postures. I think ultimately when it comes to asana, besides that principle of relieving tension in your body, realigning your body, relaxing your body, the other thing that you want to keep in mind with a good asana is to select a pose or poses which you can be comfortable in for a long period of time. And that is more important than the supposed merits of this or that posture. So for example, it's very common for people to adopt, for the practice of asana, Padmasana, the lotus position as it's commonly known, or the very similar cross-legged posture of Siddhasana, as though there is some intrinsic merit to people using that posture rather than another. But the reason why those postures like Padmasana, are so popular is because in Indian culture, it's very common to sit cross-legged, in the same way that in Western culture it's very common to sit upright in a chair. And because it is a common posture that everybody can engage in comfortably, that everybody in that culture is socialized to engage in comfortably, it means that it's easy to hold for a long period of time if you're meditating. And that is the reason why certain practices have more merit than others. If there's any reason at all, that's the reason why certain postures have more merit than others. For the purposes of Raja Yoga, it is something which you should be able to hold comfortably for an hour or more. And so if you come from a Western society and you're most comfortable sitting in a chair, then your asana, for the purposes of Raja Yoga, will be sitting in a chair. I mean, you still need to resolve any tensions that you might have, such as in your lower back, that will prevent you from holding that comfortably for a long period of time, because those little pains will distract you from the meditation. But ultimately, that will be your practice. Once you have done a certain amount of asana, that will become your practice. That will become your posture. And another popular posture is that of Sivasana, the corpse pose, which is simply just lying on the ground with your hands by your side. It's very easy to do and very easy to stay in a relaxed state for prolonged periods of time. Just don't fall asleep if you're going to adopt that pose. And that brings me to another important point about the practice of asana, which is that it's really about making your body relaxed and at peace with itself. It's not about demonstrating your athleticism or pushing the limits of how much pain you can tolerate by holding a particular pose for a particular amount of time. There's no need to venture into masochism on this. You're not proving anything by doing that. At least you're not proving anything that is of any worth in the context of a spiritual practice. What you should be trying to achieve instead with the asanas is physical well-being, physical stability, and physical balance, and relaxation, of course. And so I will just reiterate that. So that's asana. Thank you once again for listening. I will be doing a video shortly on pranayama, which is the next stage in Raja Yoga. I hope these videos are instructive. If you want more content like this, then please subscribe to my channel and you will get notified every time I release a video on a new topic. And perhaps you have something to say about physical yoga, about asana or hatha yoga. So share your experiences in the comments. Is there a particular posture that helped you the most? What is asana to you? Please share your comments down below. And in the meantime, thank you again for listening, and I'll see you next time.